Hey, I'm Cedric Chambers, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of the 3D Podcast, a masterclass where we share with you everything you need to know about how to transform diversity and inclusion in your organization as well as in your community. We are on a mission to amplify the voices of leaders that are making an impact in the world today so that we can have a better tomorrow. Our goal every episode is to keep it simple, honest, and transparent with you by uncovering the truths in diversity and inclusion with the hope of creating behavioral change, all while presenting it from a unique perspective. So look, if you're ready, get your notepad out, pour you a drink, and let's dive deep as we discuss the dimensions of diversity. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the 3D Podcast, where we speak to real practitioners who are making real change in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. And my guest for today, let's just say you're in for a treat. On today's show, I'm speaking to Tiffany Williams. Tiffany is a lifelong learner, DE&I enthusiast, and loves people. She's a proud Hbcu grad of North Carolina A&T, as well as a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So look, get your notepads ready. Give a shout out to your favorite HBCU. Shouts out Savannah State, represent, because we are about to dive deep as we discuss the dimensions of diversity. Hey, Tiffany, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Well, look, I'm excited to dive into our topic today. But first, to kind of get things kicked off, I know the audience wants to know a little bit more about you. So can we dive deep just into your background to really get an understanding of your career journey, your path, how you got into the D&I space, and then we can kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here to talk about my journey, talk about my story, and kind of share some of the information that I have. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your listeners. So a little bit about me. I tell people all the time that I started like my D&I journey probably a little bit over 10 years ago at this point. I call myself DE&I adjacent. I started my career working at Accenture, and I was working as a small business liaison officer. And basically what that means is I went out and I did a lot of networking, a lot of socializing, and just meeting different types of diverse business owners to assess their skills and capabilities to see if they would be a good fit for partnership with Verizon, or at the time Accenture. And so that opportunity, that work, I met a lot of D&I professionals. I did a lot of work, went to a lot of conferences, and it kind of led me into this D&I phase. So while at Accenture, I transitioned to like doing some supplier diversity work, which is very similar to the small business space, but it's on the commercial side, which put me smack dab in front of the Accenture's chief diversity officer. Many times I sat on several meetings, worked with her team, because basically what we were asked to do was, by many of our clients, was pull the D&I thread all the way through. So many of our clients, important clients, they want to know what we were doing around D&I with our workforce. They want to know what we were doing around D&I to support our customers. They want to know what we were doing around D&I with our suppliers. And so I would always get pulled in. And then I was looking at all these, these different aspects of D&I that I was pretty new to. And I was like, wow, this is some really cool stuff. And so I just continued to like grow my knowledge, get more training, go attend different events, shadow people, get new mentors. And then 5 years ago, about 5 years going on 6, I found myself at Verizon on Verizon's diversity, equity, and inclusion team. And then that's when things really started to take off for me.
Nice. Let me ask you this. So as you were kind of going through your career, what were like 2 or 3 lessons that were like critical to your success that you learned along the way?
So I'll tell you the biggest thing, the way that I even fell into this small business world is that there was this amazing woman that was there, and she was at the time the small business liaison officer. And I just thought what she was doing was fantastic. And I had not heard of it before prior to joining Accenture. And one day she didn't have any help. She was like a one-woman show. And I said, would you mind if I shadow you and maybe support you and just kind of, learn from some of the things that you're doing? And she said, absolutely. And by my doing that, I learned everything. She took me under her wing, and it was like the rest is history. And eventually she moved on to bigger and better things. And I was promoted into her position. And that was like the official kickoff to how I even got my foot wet, my feet wet and started in this space. So I would say not specifically DNI or, just with any role, be flexible, raise your hand. I can tell you one thing, if you're on a team and you kind of know, that was one of the things that I did. I knew how to do everybody's job. If you know a little bit, you don't have to be like, how they say, jack of all trades, master of none. If you know like a little bit of somebody's job and you can back them up, it will carry you very, very, very far. And that was like a huge win for me.
Nice. I like that. Look, she said, come on, look, everybody loves free help. Yeah, you can come
That's
shout
right.
at me. You can come do some work. You can go.
That's
What you
right.
want to do?
Exactly.
Like I was like, I would have said yes too.
Yeah. I mean, it helped me. It gave me, because I'll tell you, the supply diversity space, it's high touch with very high and senior level people within the organization oftentimes. And so not only, it allowed me to build my brand too. So I got like to learn this new skill, impress my boss. My boss was like, oh, wow, look at her. She's like a go-getter. And then I got to meet all of like the senior executives within Accenture. It was, even the current CEO, I had like the Accenture's current CEO. I know we spent some time together because of, my raising my hand and saying, hey, look at me, look what I can do. I want to do it. So
Yeah. No, awesome. Well, look, today we're talking about how do we effectively engage HBCUs, HSIs, aka minority serving institutions. And so I want to start this conversation, right, as we dive into this by understanding, a little bit more about kind of your experience as it relates to an HBCU, right? I know that you went to the second best HBCU in the land.
you
Shouts out to the
mean the
first Savannah State University. We're gonna throw that out there. Look, college by the sea. And so when it comes to your choice and your selection, one, why did you choose to go to a HBCU versus other universities? And then two, kind of just talk us through kind of what was your experience like when you went there?
All right, so this is your show, so I'm not going to bust you down, but we all know, all the listeners, the viewers, however people are receiving this information, they know that North Carolina A&T Technical State University is the number one HBCU in the land,
Hold on, make a
largest.
note. Sound guy, cut that out. I was just playing with you.
It's always a hater. Now listen, I got my special on support Black colleges. You know what I'm saying? I'm for all the HBCUs, all the minority serving institutions, all of those institutions that give marginalized groups or people a second chance, or just people just like the support that they need to make make a name and just create space in this world for them. I'm for it. But it doesn't matter. A&T is the best. I don't know if you've been following like the track and field, but we're just like killing it, and just everything else that we do. But I don't want to go too far. This is not the A&T show. I get it. But,
Savannah State is a great academic college that great young professionals go to in order to learn, grow, and be great business leaders. I just want to put that out there. So it's not all about sports.
No, it's not all about sports. Sports is all about our amazing homecoming. Because I'm sorry, you're right. A&T, amazing academic institution. So are all the HBCUs.
It is.
Something I tout all the time. But A&T also has the best homecoming. But anyway, let me tell you why I went to A&T. Hashtag GHO and hashtag Aggie Pride. But anyway, I'll tell you why I went there. As I growing up, all the schools that I went to, they were predominantly white schools. My schools were pretty diverse. I will say that. I won't say that, I was like the only one, because I wasn't. But my school, all of the schools that I went to prior to A&T, they were predominantly white. My teachers were white. My experience was very different. And so, it was what it was. I enjoyed it. I didn't really know much. I didn't know anything different than what I was experiencing. So what I had from, kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, what I saw is what I saw. As when I got into high school, my aunt, she went to North Carolina A&T. So when I was a little, when I was a little younger than that, because I think I forget what year she went in there, but it was like probably around the middle school time. I started having opportunities to go to A&T and like just be on the campus and see some of the things that was going on and have some of that exposure. Didn't live too far from Howard. I was familiar with Morgan, but I did want to go away. So those schools were never, any school in Maryland and DC were never on my radar. But that, just going to having that exposure to A&T, meeting some other people that had attended this university, I wasn't 100% sold on A&T at the time, but I was 100% sold on the HBCU, getting that Black experience, being in that, being in that space. And so I did, I applied to several schools. I initially was really stuck on going to Hampton, but at the last minute, I was like, I don't know if this school is the best school for me. And so I did end up going to North Carolina A&T. What I got, it was a it was just rich in culture. It was amazing seeing, like I said, I've been around, predominantly white. I've been in predominantly white schools. My exposure is, for the most part, lots of white people who are professionals that serve in professional roles like lawyers, doctors, engineers, like you name it, they were pretty much white. A&T, when I got there, I was like, oh, wait a minute. There are a lot of different types. Like, they're like, wait, they're like doctors. Yeah, it was a shock. Doctors, PhDs, it turned like it was so many different types of people, different types of Black people. So it wasn't like we were like a monolithic. It was so many. It was just so rich in culture, so rich in diversity, even among Black people and like their own lived experiences. And then like I always talk. I was like, I know 2 Black rocket scientists, and like that just tickles me. I'm so proud by that. So and then also in addition to like the rich culture and just what I knew I would gain from it, it did. I had a lot of strong family encouragement. Like I said, my aunt had already went, some cousins, some other relatives, and like very close friends of the family that was like really encouraging and pushing this school. And so I'm thankful for all of the people who said, go to A&T, go make sure you go to an HBCU, because it did change my life.
Yeah. I think that, I always hear that a lot just around people when they decide to go to an HBCU or HSI, it's because of like someone close to them went as well, right? And so like you always see that connection just in the history and kind of it's almost like a legacy, type of situation. Even for me, right, with Savannah State, man, my grandma graduated in 51 from Savannah State. And so that was a situation to where, was excited to go back to that university, right, and go in and experience it. And even a little bit different from you because, understanding kind of how you grew up, I was the complete opposite, right? If it wasn't a teacher, I would say I didn't see a white person until I went to my career at Ohio. So
no.
It was like 99.9% Black, high school, middle school, college, right? And so, and not 99% FYI, so don't be little people.
Right.
But that's great. And so let me ask you this question, and can you touch on a little bit, but I want to, make sure we expound on this. In what ways, like, do minority serving institutions prepare their students that might be different than if they had gone to like a PWI? And then how does that preparation help students as they enter into the job market? Because I know that is different. I know my experience is different. I've been to both, but I want to know kind of from your point of view, like how do they prepare their students?
So again, all I have is the HBCU experience. Well, I have PWI experience for grad school, but it's I didn't lean on them as much as I did. I didn't need them as much, I guess, the support. But I was 18. I went away to college. I was about 5 hours away from my house, from my home. My mom is a single parent, and I was her first kid to go away to college. So it was a huge transition. I get like teary-eyed just thinking about it. It was a huge transition for both my mother and myself. And so much so that she kind of didn't even want me to go. Like when it was time to go, I was like, hey, come on, lady, let's get out of here. And she's just like taking her time. A couple of days passed. I'm like, Ma, I done missed the orientation. What's happening? Let's go. And she's just like, I'm not ready for you to go. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but it's time to go. And so she did eventually let me go. And when I got there, like all of the like the worries, many of the worries and many of the things, like the things that gave her pause, the fear, like they went away, because when she dropped me off at A&T, like she didn't just leave me to like fend for myself. Like I already had a built-in network. When I first went to A&T, I met two girls, and I actually just hung out with them this past weekend because I'm still friends with them. And they're from this area. Like I immediately had a network, and we called the Metro Aggies at the time. A week later, I met my husband, he's like my current and my only husband, so it ain't like I had all these husbands. My current husband, we just had like such a strong bond, that the people that I surrounded myself with, and so like the student body, the kids that were there, like we came together. We spent a lot of time. We looked out for each other and made sure that everybody was okay. People needed to ride home. Like we just helped out. People was homesick, needed to go get something off, restaurant, something. We stuck together and people supported us. Then you take it a step further, the next level, the faculty. Oh my goodness. The faculty, like I don't have that experience. I've never had that experience anywhere else. The faculty were kind of like, kind of like your mom, your dad, like your
Joe
godmother,
Clark.
like all them
They
people,
everybody.
everybody, sometimes some faculty, like if you needed a little money, you needed something to eat, you needed something, they were there. They held you down and held you accountable. And I know a lot of that, or I believe in my heart that a lot of that comes from the fact that, as Black people, we are taught that we have to work twice as hard to be considered, half as good. And I feel like like the Black teachers and professors and the staff, like they've worked they come from industry, like they come from education, they come from corporate. So like they've experienced some of these things and they're like, listen, we're preparing you. Like this is the corporate world or the real world boot camp. So we're going to love on you. We're going to prepare you. We're going to make sure that you are prepared when you get out of here. But we're going to do it we're going to do it with love. And I'll say this. I knew my mother, like, was totally in love with A&T when I was a sophomore. One of my best friends, she was here in DC. She went to Howard. She committed suicide. So imagine me like being 19, away from home, and I get a phone call the night before that my best friend has committed suicide. A friend I had been friends with since I was about 9 or 10 years old. And my mom's like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? And so I don't know who she called or what she did, but next thing I know, I had one of my professors was like calling me, the counselor was calling me, everybody, like they came to get me because they was like, your mom called and she's trying to figure out what in the world is going on with you. She want to make sure that you're doing okay while you're here. And my teachers, they gave me the time and the space that I needed in order to get through that. Like I don't know. The experience is it is beyond words.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. And I think that it's like when you go, I don't know if you have a choice but to feel like you're at home, right? So it's not even like you're away from home to a certain extent. It's like, this is where I should be, right? And I think that even when you brought up the faculty, so many professors ran through my head. I'm just like, you got the Joe Clarks, you got the people that's gonna pick you up once they get you down there. It was so much. I had a teacher one time, a professor one time. I ended up fell in her class with a 69, and she looked at me and she said, "You didn't try." And I said, "You gonna give me a 69?" She said, "Nope, you earned it." And so she's like, "I see you next semester." And that'd be she would also be like, "Hey, make sure you bring me some of that cute chicken on Friday." And so,
down, but they love you.
No, but it also taught you one, nothing's gonna be given to you at the end of the day, and two, like, very similar. Went to grad school at PWI, and I'm just gonna be honest, as it relates to the work and the structure, one, it definitely wasn't as close with faculty and that piece of it. But then also, when it comes down to, I would say that regardless of whatever accolades you want to call it, doesn't matter. But professors, to me, prepared you better in HBCUs. They were a lot tougher, right? But it was tougher with the intent that we've been where you're going. Yes. We're trying to help you, get to that place and go beyond where we went. And so that piece was huge, right? And so when you think about like this experience, you think about, you have so much that's happening, in corporate, right? You have this common phrase that happens to where, hey, I can't find black talent, right? And the
Yeah,
pipeline is so
tricky.
small, right? And so I want to ask you first, before I go to this next question, when you hear that, like what comes to mind? Like what's happening when you hear a company say, well, the pipeline isn't there, or we're struggling, we can't find black talent or
So
Hispanic talent for that matter?
listen, I'm immediately triggered by that. I don't know. I mean, I'm immediately triggered. I saw a
Let it out.
meme.
Let it
I
out.
mean, I saw a meme like, I don't know. I forget what CEO it was, but it was one of the CEOs of one of those large banks, like a JP Morgan Chase, or one of those city. I don't know. I don't want to just single them out, but it was one of them. That's there. Remember, their CEO was like, they can't find no black talent, and of course, he had to come back and he had to walk it back. But and like shortly after that, there was like this meme that was like circulating the internet, which I just summed it up for me. Beyonce can find a whole girl like band, like they play all like her whole band, Beyonce, all black, all female band that's at the top of their game. Like these ain't no slouch, musicians. Like it's a ton of them, but y'all can't find no black talent with all these black people, all of these people of color who have degrees and they're like super educated. You can't find them nowhere. So I'm like, well, I guess that's why Beyonce is the queen. I guess because maybe
Ah,
she's just smarter than all of y'all. Like where she get a black cymbals player and a triangle player and everybody else.
Wakanda.
So right, exactly.
She went to Wakanda. No, it's always interesting to just hear it, and you just like, and I always think to myself, and I say, well, look, it's interesting that you can't find black talent to come work in your organization, right? But then but it's no problem when it's finding black talent to sell your products to them, right? When it
Right.
comes to black marketing and getting out there, you know how to find who
You
you
know
need
how
to
to
find, right, to
do
get the product out there, right? And so, it's just always interesting, kind of, listening to companies say that. And so, kind of my next kind of segue and question here is, as you think about organizations again, like why is it that many companies still have yet to like tap into minority serving institutions? Like,
Well,
what are
let
they?
me
What's they waiting on? What's going on?
Well, let me just say this. I'm a back up just a second, so because I know I'm gonna be serious with this talent thing because this is like a serious issue. When I truly believe, and I mean I don't have any, I'm not quoting data. This is just Tiffany's personal opinion. I truly believe that when these CEOs or heads of companies or just whoever has the hiring power or tasked with being questioned about why they don't have a diverse workforce, I truly believe that they can't find them because they're looking at like Harvard and Stanford and all of these predominantly white schools. These are the schools that they know. These are the schools that we've all been socialized to believe that they are, if you get them from there, they're amazing. Like that nothing but talent comes out of these schools. And it's not that many black people or people of color, or well, I would say black people. It's not that many black people who go there. And I would even venture to say it's not that many black people who want to go there because they don't feel safe. And like some black people don't feel safe in those spaces. I have a ton of friends who got scholarships accepted to Ivy League schools and they went to HBCUs instead. Like they wasn't forced to go. This wasn't one of they getting a second chance. Like they chose to go because it's the same thing with hiring black talent or other people of color. You can find them, really, you can. You can get them, but can you keep them? You don't have the systems in place. Many of these organizations don't have the systems in place to support the black talent. So they don't come. They don't want to come. I know I've turned down some jobs or walked away from some potential opportunities or conversations because I'm like, I know what your organization is like. I'm not going there because I'm not going to be supported. And so I truly believe like they've been socialized. We've all been socialized that like this is a standard. Like that's kind of the deal with the dominant culture. They have decided that they are the standard and anything that is different from that, that's where like their triggers go off. It's like the amygdala to hijack, fight, flight or flee. And they're just like, instead of like, it's different, not good, not bad, just different. They're like, this is good, this is bad. And so they wouldn't find a whole lot of black people or Latinx or anybody else at these institutions because they're not there. But if you expand your view, you might see somebody else. And then you can, if you expand your view and your perception and your ideas and your thought process, then maybe, like if you didn't think that HBCUs were, subpar and the education was subpar, like then you would be able to find diverse talent.
Which
So
is not, which is
which is
not.
not. I also
Look,
have a little issue with like I think that these corporations, like, they should work with HBCUs just like they work with all the rest of these institutions, these colleges and universities. Like it should just be like a part of the process. But if you notice, I don't know if you notice, but I certainly noticed it's kind of like where they start, like start and stop. Like we gonna go to the HBCUs, we gonna get this certain amount of entry level positions, these lower level positions, and then that's kind of where it ends. Like, I'm like, what is your strategy for hiring and bringing in mid level talent, executive level talent? Like what are you do? Like where are you? Like what are you doing? How are you addressing that? So it's kind of, I have like a love hate relationship with the way that corporations utilize and or leverage HBCUs or other minority serving institutions.
yeah, I got an idea for you, corporate. If y'all want to hire mid level to executives, all you gotta do is show up to an HBCU homecoming.
Let me
You'll be
tell you
straight.
something.
Look,
I know.
you be-
Listen, I was gonna say this for later. It's not even like that's perfect. You would be straight. You would definitely be straight. But what they need to do is they need to partner. Not only, they do need to partner with the various organizations. I mean, with the various HBCUs, like and the young people, and create that pipeline. Have a presence on their campus. Do the fairs. Do some other activations within these universities. Don't just show up, but like really create a dynamic, innovative, value add relationship, very strategic. Have a relationship. I know Verizon, we do a couple of things, but the second half of that, when you're talking about, the alumni, what do we all have? We all have alumni associations. I don't know about everybody else's school, but my alumni association, it's very large, it's very vast, and it's filled with committed executive level, I'm sure, more seasoned folks in those organizations, and they partner very strongly with our chancellor, with our organization. So just like you would build a program for HBCU students, you could also build a program and put some resources and some efforts around connecting the HBCU alumni associations, and you can do that at the school. So it's like you got the chancellor or whatever organization, and it's just a two-tiered, and you can build out a two-tier program. It's not like an additional, effort where you got to kind of go out and find the alumni associations for, A&T got 100 chapters, they got them all over. You don't have to go to like the Charlotte one, the Atlanta one, this one. You can go to, we centralize. We got a central group, and you can start building a programming that way. Same with some of those other Black professional organizations, like the sororities and the fraternities, the graduate chapters there, the links. Like it's several Black serving organizations, mocha moms, that have high, senior level, career level folks, where we're talking beyond entry level. So it's whole. So you have to, like, one, you have to care. One, you have to listen to people that don't look like you. You have to believe that there's value in even doing this work. Jack and Jill, it's a whole bunch of them out there.
And so let me ask you this, kind of tagging on to that, but going a little step before. So, we talked about why organizations like don't engage, but then you hit on this a little bit, but for those companies that do engage, why aren't they successful? Like the approach, like what's happening right now today where companies are engaging with, HBCUs or minority serving institutions, and then coming back with empty hands in their pockets, looking like, we didn't get anything.
Well, one, again, my opinion, I believe that the relationships that they try to build are not authentic. And I can tell you I don't know about the HBCUs and their leaderships. I can only, I can assume, I'm going to make the assumption, if any company comes to, a HBCU, I'm talking A&T just because that's where I go. A&T is the top producer of Black engineers in the country, not just, of HBCUs. Like, out of all the schools in the country, A&T produces the top the highest amount of Black engineers. Their business department has amazing accreditations. The technology, their agricultural, like all of like the school is not subpar. Like just because you don't know about it and it's different from what your lived experiences are, doesn't make it a bad situation. So when you are a corporation and you're coming to diversify your talent pipeline, or you're building your talent pipeline, understand you're not coming necessarily like doing us a favor. Like, this should be more, you should be seen as more of a collaborative effort, because we know that lots of these corporations, they're doing some of these things. Some of these leaders, they truly believe in it. They understand. We had the summer of reckoning. People are like, oh my goodness, what have we been doing? Been asleep at the wheel this whole time. Some companies are like, listen, we need the bottom line here. And even the companies that do like really care about this and they're doing it, it does also, a lot of it still circles around the business case for like diversity, equity, and inclusion. People, companies they want to attract the best. Like, they want to be an employer of choice. They want to be they want the consumers to want them. To come and patronize them, buy their products and services. The world, like, the younger people are like, listen, we expect our companies to be socially responsible. Like, we expect them to do the right thing. So that is a very strong business case for these companies to like participate and do some of these DNI, do many of these DNI initiatives and change their culture. So I think part of the problem is, they don't always come to the HBCUs with like the understanding that this is collaborative. Like, you need us, we need you. This is a part. We have something of value to us. This is not a handout. You're not we're giving you, like, what you're getting from us is something that you're not able to get anywhere else. You're not able to get in many places extraordinary Black talent that you need in order to support the needs of your business case, that you need to make sure that your products, your services are continue to be innovative, that you're able to leverage these different skills and experiences of people that look different from you and the current people that are within your organization. Like, you're getting something from us, something tangible, something that's going to turn into real profit and money. And so I think a lot of these corporations, they come and they think of it as like, it's charity. Like, we're doing you guys a favor to be here. And they don't fully respect the talent that's there, and they don't listen to exactly what the needs of the universities are sometimes, at least. And again, all my opinion, that they don't listen to the needs. They put forth what they think the organization needs, and that always, they're not humble in their inquiry. They're not like, tell me more, let me understand, let's make this a value add for us both. And that's, I think, is one of like the biggest barriers where companies, they kind of go and they don't do their research. Most companies go to the same HBCUs over and
Hmm.
over and over and over
Yep.
again.
Yep.
They don't diversify. They don't know what's out there. It's over 110.
101.
It was 100. It was 111, but 101. It's over 100
Over 100.
HBCUs out there. Like, you have, and many of them specialize in very, very like niche types of services. And I'm like, it's so much out there. Go find them. You
Yeah.
gotta care.
Yeah.
You gotta care.
When you think about and I saw the stats where it was like 80% of, Black judges come from HBCUs and
Yes,
50%
doctors.
lawyers and doctors. And it's like, when we talk about it's one aspect of it's not there, it's another aspect of you just not trying. Like, you don't
Yeah,
want, like, and that's a question. I guess let me ask you this question, and I'm kind of veering here. Is it's almost like it would appear because HBCUs aren't a secret.
no,
They've been here, right? And
and we're
but
loud.
in some cases though, you would think that, would you make an assumption, or would you say that just some organizations just don't want to do it?
Yeah, I would say that they don't believe it. Like, again, you're about to make me go into like all my little DNI.
Look, we got
And my
time today.
social
We got time. We
sciences.
got time.
Listen, in my social sciences, we've all been socialized in this like systemic racist, this oppressive system. It takes a significant cultural shift, a like mindset shifts for people to understand like there is actual value, or what you have always known to be true is not true. What I mean by that, the just because the school is white, it majority, does not mean that it is better than the black schools. It is different. It is a different experience. And I think that people are unaware, because one thing about the dominant culture, I will say this, one thing about the dominant culture, they have absolutely no obligation, no need, and in many cases, I believe no desire to learn about things that do not fit into the culture. They set the standard for all of us. So Black people, Latinx people, all the marginalized groups, we spend every waking moment studying the dominant culture, and because so that we need to make sure that they feel safe, that they're not triggered, because we stand to lose so much, our lives, our livelihoods. Like it's so much that could potentially impact us if we do not understand their systems, their ways, and they do not do that in return. So lots of them, I would venture to believe, like they don't know that these black colleges is out here. They probably, some, and those that do may not know that there's colleges that have our Hispanic serving institutions or other minority serving. Like they don't know that this stuff exists. They don't know that it's that this talent. Like they don't know these things. And then some people don't care. The ones that do know, they haven't quite come to the realization that, like, okay, they do have these HBCUs, they are strong, like, academic institute. Like maybe one person came out of it and they was like smart or whatever, or they thought, perceived as smart. So you're a credit to your race. I just think that they don't know. And this is like one of my biggest gripes. Like what I'm love seeing now is a lot of like high profile and celebrities, or people with influence and a voice and a platform, sending their kids to HBCUs. I wish that more people did that, because like my Sarah, of the current vice president, she just, like, she did for me legitimize HBCUs, because a lot of people are like, and what is her name? Keisha over there. She in Atlanta, and yeah, and Stacey Abrams, and like it's a couple of them that like people was like, oh wait a minute, they went to HBCUs, because at first people was like, I can go to HBCUs, but basically you gonna get is like you gonna get all that stuff we talked about in the beginning. You gonna get the love and the black experience, but it's not the real world, and it don't prepare you properly. And here we are, we have an HBCU grad that's sitting in the White House. So he did legitimize that for me. I mean, also, she's my soror and everything, but it was the HBCU. It was the HBCU. It was the HBCU for me. So I think you got a combination of both. Some people don't care, some people don't know, and some people don't believe.
I think you brought up a good point where it's like not researching, and that's the part to where, unless you got to understand what's happening. It looks different. It feels different because it's not where you typically go in your journey, right? Whether that's a Penn State or whether that's a whoever, right? It's not where you typically go, right? Like understanding even this, we've hinted at it, right? Without even specifically saying it, but even thinking about the Greek letter organizations, right? And what that provides from a growth and development at an HBCU for individual is huge, right? Like, I don't know, very rarely do I see leaders prominent in organizations, women, men, that aren't part of D9. Very rare. I'm just gonna be honest, very rare. And that just teaches you that's a leadership aspect. That's not a happenstance. It is ingrained and instilled through the process. Like all of that is a formula. And that's the part too where if you don't understand that, you're gonna look at the resume and see AKA or C Omega Psi Phi or whatever. You're not gonna really get the value of what that means when they say they were the president, the bosses, when they said they did, keep up finance or events. Like that, and that includes community service as well as everything else. Like it's not just that simple, right? And that's the part to where if you don't do the research, then you don't know the impact and the leadership and what comes out of just having that on the resume.
let me tell you something. I do put that on my resume, and I put on my resume that I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and that I am the committee chair for the HBCU initiatives. And so what that means is, we have a target, HBCU for life. It's our target, target one, and the whole target is designed and dedicated so chapters across the world are, charged with bringing exposure to HBCUs. I host virtual HBCU fairs. I actually have a panel coming up not too, towards the end of the year. I'm calling it the ABCs of HBCUs, where I'll be highlighting activists, business owners, and C-suite members that all graduated from HBCUs. And the people, like I got my committee together last week, and and I was like, I had a ton of people on the list because of the work that I do. And I asked my committee, I was like, hey, tell me, like, this is what we want to do. Who you have any suggestions? And I'm not going to say who they said, but I'll let you know you can send it to your audience when it's about to happen. But like, these people are like significant people. I'll tell you I will say one person that I was like, ooh, I would love for her to sit on my panel. She is an HBCU grad. She's an Aggie. Her name is Janice. Her name is Janice Howroyd, or Janice Bryant Howroyd, and she is a black business owner. She owns $1 billion company. Like, she graduated from North Carolina A&T, got her education there. Got everything that she needs. Every time you see her, she shouts out Aggie Pride, and she talks about, North Carolina, her family, her upbringing, and the support that she got from an HBCU, which led her to who she is today. Like, the woman is, Google her. Like, she got her own wiki. She is like a force to be reckoned with. And there's so many people out here that are like that. And I know we veered off a little bit, but back to like the Greek life, like, they do prepare you for like, we have, in our programming, like, we do leadership training that you can use as in a leadership role within the organization or beyond. So we do all of these things. We are preparing, and we take it back to the schools, to the young people, the people that's coming behind us. Our organizations, as you know, our organizations are about service, and their membership is for life. Not organizations outside of the D9 are not like that. They don't have a lifelong membership where, like, once you're in, you like, there's there's an opportunity for you to serve for forever. And that's what we do. We get it. We serve the young people, we serve the community, and we build leaders.
That's it for life. That's a huge difference. My first corporate role was from Omegas. Like, it was like, it's an automatic. We got you. we got you. And for the ABCs of HBCU, is that a public event?
It will be. It'll be public.
Okay, got it. We'll add that to the bio with the link when you have it, so we make sure everybody can see, view, attend. Cool. So let me ask you this. So, as we're getting towards kind of the end of the discussion, right? We've talked about a lot of things, in this conversation. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're leaving, practitioners, listeners, the audience with things that they can take away from this conversation, that when they stop listening, they can start to get their brains going and start writing down, what are we going to do to really go out and accomplish these specific actions? And so what can organizations do, or what can practitioners do after listening to this episode to really go out and take action and start to build, deeper relationships with HBCUs and HSIs?
Yeah. So, I've been thinking, I gave one of my little tips earlier today, and I'll bring it on back. It's I think first of all, you just have to do it. You have to get the right types of people. I would say one of the good things that Verizon does is they do leverage HBCU grads very strong, and they also and it's not exclusive to HBCU grads. If you just are a lover of HBCUs, maybe you have kids at HBCUs or something like that, and you just you love the interacting with them and you love the work. They leverage people who have those interests. So for me, I currently serve as a North Carolina A&T ambassador, HBCU ambassador. And so what that means is, and it's a group of us that we're all a part of this ambassador, and we've identified we've identified some HBCUs, quite a few HBCUs that we are committed to building very strategic and long lasting relationships. And they're not surface relationships. And so we have our ambassador program for the various HBCUs and other minority serving institutions that we plan to partner with. And we have these groups of people, and we work together in a collaborative way to design programming and activities and interventions or what have you, with these particular organizations. One of the things that we do a lot is we focus on getting them hired, getting them in, like getting internships and apprenticeships and all of those types of things. And I'll be happy to say one of my little Aggies, Miss A&T, she started her her internship with Verizon last week. So very proud of her. And
Nice.
So we have a whole bunch of very dedicated people who do this work and engage. And we work with the university, work with the chancellor, work with the powers that be to make sure that we are actually giving giving the programming that they need, giving this resources, what it is that is going to be a value to them, and also a value to Verizon, because this is a collaborative effort. So I would say leverage the people. There are tons of people within your organization, just like me, who love HBCUs, love her HBCU and everybody else's, and are connected to these HBCUs. We still know the professors, we still know the people on the yard, who could help you bridge those relationships so that they are authentic. They begin authentic and real, so that you can start having the right conversations with the right people and building the right strategy that works for both your organizations. I would definitely say leverage, while you're building these strategies and leveraging the young people and building that, early career pipeline. I would also say work with the organization, the high levels of the organization, and engage the Alumni Association. Use the Alumni Association for talent pipeline at the highest, for your more senior roles.
Yeah. No, that is a definite. Well, look, I think that, everything we've talked about, look, I'm thank you so much, right, for just sharing it and being candid, just throughout the conversation. And so, I really want to just cap off the discussion with, like, I know you're an avid learner. And so what are a few gems that have been helpful for you that you can share with the audience to help them grow their knowledge in this space, whether it's HBCUs or just D&I, in general, whether it be like books, podcasts, videos, movies? Like, what are some of those things that you can share so that people can start to just go deeper into kind of learning more and what they can do?
I will say this. One of the things that I really like, Georgetown has a program. It's a D&I program, because I kind of think that whether you're dealing with HBCUs or whatever type of, D&I journey you're on, that you have to kind of be grounded in some of the, the D&I basics.
Yep.
And Georgetown has a diversity, equity and inclusion, or diversity and inclusion executive certificate program. It's a 6-month program. I took the program, and I really, 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 really enjoyed it. I had already been working in, D&I before that, doing some strategies, some ERG work, and, just D&I adjacent to a lot of different areas that other members on my team was working in. So I had I felt pretty grounded. But that program, the one thing that it did teach me, in addition to, like, just the things you need to know about D&I, was it talked a lot about use of self and self as a tool. And it focused a whole lot on becoming self-aware, becoming aware of your own biases, becoming aware of who you are, how you think, building your own cultural competencies, looking at your unique, my professor, his name is Enrique, this is his term, unique cultural lens, to kind of see who you are, what you believe, why do you decide, why do you make the decisions that you do, what lived experiences that you have that causes you to show up a certain way. And once you do that work, and it's constant work, it's not, you don't do it for like a month and you're done, but it's constant work, then you can be very, very effective at D&I. you can be very effective, because what it is when you think about who you are and why you do the things that you do and make the choices that you can then kind of identify some of those things that maybe you shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't say. It helps you to build your skill around empathy, and it gives you a much deeper appreciation for the differences that other people will have, difference in identities, and it just gives you. It's like the people aspect of it, because when I know like a lot of corporations, they focus on a business case, and it's nothing wrong with that. But this type of work is very human centered, and you have to like get, there's like the business case, and then there is like, this is the right thing to do. And like you're dealing with like the lives of people, like this stuff impacts them. People spend a lot of time at their jobs, and they shouldn't be unhappy there, or riddled with microaggressions and things of that nature. So I would say do the self work, look into the Georgetown program. There's a lot of books out there, podcasts. I mean, there's tons of them. You can just kind of Google your favorite, but it's just that Georgetown course laid the groundwork for me.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, like I said, in my D&I space, but my self work.
Yeah.
Like, who is Tiffany? What does she believe? And how is her biases, showing up? Because I'll leave you with this. The one thing that it did teach me is that while I am marginalized, due to many of my identities being Black woman, there are some privileges that I do hold, and and I needed to know. Like, it was very helpful for me to understand the privileges that I hold, and how that privilege shows up and impacts the lives of other people. So the self work is very, very important. And it made me see things through a much different lens. And once I realized or recognized the privileges that I hold, it gave me a deeper understanding, a curiosity of maybe people on the other side of the fence that I don't agree with, like why they act the way that they do, and how can I make a connection with them in order to maybe shift some things. So the self work is very important.
And that was great. That was great. I'm just going to put a comment in there and just say, Georgetown needs y'all to cash app Tiffany, because she just gave y'all a full promo.
Sakari is good. Shout out to Sakari. She's the executive director of that program. She is phenomenal, and all of the professors are. I mean, I could list them, but they're pretty amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, look, this has been an amazing conversation. Before we go, do you have any parting words, anything, any shout outs? Where can people find you if they want to, dig into your brain a little bit more and really get to know, what does Tiffany think about this?
Sure. I just want to say thank you. This first time I did something like this, and I was very nervous because I'm very caring.
It didn't seem that way.
I know, but I really did enjoy this. I like this. I like this format, and I'm just happy that that we were able to connect, and that you just wanted to hear what I had to say, and pick my brain. I'm on LinkedIn. So Tiffany Williams, and you can find me. I'm Verizon, Tiffany Williams Verizon. You can find me there, and I'm out there. I'm out there.
Well, look, that does it for us. Look, I'm excited for you and your future and everything that comes with it, right? And I would say just say keep doing what you're doing, and don't lose just that exuberance that you bring to the table. So it's always great. No, and so look, no problem. Well, look, thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of 3D Podcast. This has been Cedric, and you've been listening to Tiffany Williams, Diversity, Economic, and Inclusion Leader of Verizon. We out.